Ollie. I am currently here for this week, and I was here for a bit last week as well. I am traveling, and as most of everybody knows, before I get back to Vancouver, I'm just recording this intro from my hotel room right now, sitting on the floor with a mic. It's great. Today on the podcast, we have Ollie Sovi-Jarvi. He is one of the co-authors for the Biohacker's Handbook, which is essentially a guide to the human body and how it works, and is a basis for understanding biohacking and what it means and the different ways that you can implement it into your life in order to reach optimal health. So it's really amazing. You know, I have it and I'm traveling with it right now. It's very detailed. It's basically a textbook, but it's worth it. Like, it's worth buying it. It's worth getting it because of the amount of detail in it, the illustrations, the graphs, everything. It's all scientifically proven. It's all sourced. So in the back, it has all of the studies and everything that they talk about in the book. And it also just covers like these really big topics that I cover on the show. Things like sleep and things like nutrition and fitness and all of the ways that you can do different things in order to get the best results. So it's really good. I recommend it to everybody. If you're keen on buying it, I have a discount code. It is Biohacking Brittany. Feel free to use it if you would like some discount off of it. We talk about the book, and we also talk about hormones mostly, and basically how sleep affects hormones, how to cycle hormones effectively for females. And we get into cycle syncing, which is something that I like talking about and I've become really interested in lately. And we also just kind of go through testosterone and growth hormone and how to increase these things and when they decrease and why they decrease. And so it's a really interesting mix of sleep meet hormones in this episode. It's cool. Let me know what you think. I'm keen to hear what you have to say. Shoot me a message if you want to chat. And thank you to everybody who has emailed me lately, surprisingly, about guests that they would like on. I don't know why I find it surprising, but I do. Yeah, we'll be back in Canada in a couple weeks, and we'll definitely be looking into some new guests. So thanks so much for that. Yeah, let me know what you think, and I really hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. For everybody who doesn't know who you are, can you introduce yourself and kind of just like tell us how you got into biohacking and you wrote this amazing book, and like how did it all come about?
Yeah, first, thanks for inviting me to your show. I heard that it's a pretty new one and you're about to launch a lot of cool podcasts. So congratulations on that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we have written this missing manual of the human body, which is called the Biohacker's Handbook. So that's basically what we've been up to the past 3-4 years, but my background and journey into biohacking has been a lot longer. I would say like 20 years. So to put it short, my background is in the field of medicine. I'm a medical doctor and been practicing my job about 15 years now. And about a year ago, I decided that I go full on biohacking and I quit taking patients and just I'm concentrating on creating content and arranging amazing biohacker summits and just producing quality material for people to really get into the deepest level of biohacking. With that, I mean that biohacking isn't that some fringe and like weird stuff that you can do to your body, but more to become like aware and practice the principles of optimizing your sleep, optimizing your recovery, stress management, nutrition, movement, and so on. So it's basically like I said in the beginning, a manual for the human body and how to operate it.
Yeah, definitely. So when I first heard about biohacking a couple of years ago, I remember just like rolling my eyes at it, thinking it was just so extra and unnecessary. And like, I didn't understand it. And like, you know what I mean? And then once you realize it's such a holistic view on health and your life and what you can bring in and do, it all makes so much sense. And that's what I tell people is biohacking is like holistic self-care for optimal health. And I feel like I don't know, like that's how I define it, but like, how would you define it in a sentence?
That's a good definition for sure. So what we use and what we have come up with, it's optimizing like human health and performance with biological, technological, and natural tools. So it's not like it's taken everything into account, whether it's a forest bathing or a supplement or technological innovation. So kind of it's implementing all kinds of stuff in various fields and areas of medicine and nutrition and so on. So it's a comprehensive approach on what it means to be a human body and how to improve yourself health-wise, but also energy-wise, and so that you can be a quote better person for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And if people were starting out or like they saw your book, because your book is amazing, it's also huge and has a ton of information in it. So if you were to give like the summary of your book or like, or how would people start, right? Because like if you go into biohacking, it can kind of just seem overwhelming. And even with wellness, I find that wellness, like quote unquote, is like just such a broad term, but it can just be so confusing of like, what do I do? What do I eat? How do I exercise? Like all of these different things. So what would you suggest?
We have an easy solution for that. So that it means that you can download for free the first chapter of the book, which is the sleep. So the whole book is consisting of 5 chapters. It's sleep, nutrition, exercise, work, and the mind. And the sleep chapter it's free, so it's very easy to go into the topic through sleep, because everybody has to sleep, and usually people talk about the sleep. And first thing in the morning, you might ask your wife or child or whoever, is that how did you sleep? So it's both subjective and objective thing that you can also measure, but you can also say, okay, I slept fine because I feel fine now. But in real life, you have actually might have slept not that well, or you wake up in the wrong part of the sleep cycle in the morning, and you say, oh, I feel so bad, but you have actually slept like a baby the rest of the night. So that's the easiest way, in my opinion, to dive into the biohacking and realize that, okay, it's not that difficult at all.
Yeah. Sleep is huge. So I have an Aura ring. I think you have one as well, right?
Yeah, sure. I've had it about 2 years ago. So
yeah. And that is such a game changer in itself, because it's actually something that measures your sleep. And so before that, even if you had like a Fitbit or your phone, like all these apps on your phone, like it just doesn't do as comprehensive as the Aura ring does. Like the data is incredible. So, but like I have sleep issues, and before I had the Aura ring, it was really hard for me to figure out what was going on. And that's what I say. Like, I'm not going to recommend to people to go out and buy a $500 Aura ring. Do you know what I mean? If they're having sleep issues. So where can people start?
Actually, it's $300. So it's not that bad.
Oh, I think I talk in Canadian dollars. I don't know what currency you're in.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. We actually use it like euros, but it's pretty close to USD. Okay. Yeah. That's cool.
What I'm trying to say is, if somebody is having sleep issues, how can they figure out what is causing it without an Aura ring?
Yeah, that's a good question. Becoming aware of the actual metrics is critical to actually realize what's going on. Am I waking up like multiple times per day, per night, or is my sleep actually restful? Am I getting enough deep sleep? Am I getting enough REM sleep, and so on? So without, for example, using Oura Ring or some kind of other sleep metric device, it's really hard to actually know what's going on unless you go into like the sleep laboratory and taking this polysomnographic study, which is of course the gold standard. But I don't know anybody who's taking that except for a few like nerds who actually want to dive really deep into that. So people usually go into sleep laboratories when they're like totally wrecked, when they're like, okay, I cannot sleep at all. So that's like in the other end of the spectrum. But if you haven't like some kind of difficulties in sleeping, like I've been dealing those my whole life, being like very, very sensitive to all kind of stimulus and so on. So this has helped me personally also a lot to realize, okay, I can actually do these things to get, for example, more deep sleep and see how different kind of interventions that I do have an effect on the sleep. So in my opinion, the Oura Ring is by far the most sophisticated and easiest to use device on sleep and recovery measurement.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. How do you think that sleep impacts your hormones? Like, I mean, sex hormones like testosterone, estrogen, all of it.
Yeah, it does a lot, especially for male. Testosterone is critical, but also for female, the overall balance is crucial. So whether it's estrogen or progesterone or whatever, and one thing you're certainly missing, which is the secretion of the growth hormone in the first parts of the night. It's usually secreted, especially in the deep sleep. So that's a hormone that's actually rejuvenating your body and fixing different kind of things that are, quote, broken in your body. So that's kind of a youth hormone. It's growth hormone. So if you're not getting enough deep sleep, you're actually getting older faster. So being youthful and kind of anti-aging, I would say that getting enough deep sleep is the best thing you can actually do to yourself.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So my sleep issue is not getting enough deep sleep. So how can I get more deep sleep then and help rejuvenate my body?
Well, I wrote this 42-page article on Ben Greenfield's blog. I don't know if you have seen it, but it's the comprehensive analysis on deep sleep. You can link to the show notes, but
yeah,
that's like, it's 40 pages with like 200 scientific references. So that's the most comprehensive article on biohacking deep sleep I've ever seen. So to your question, how you can get more deep sleep, first you have to kind of like see how your life is going and what are you actually doing. And usually the case is that people are sympathetically too stressed out. So their nervous system is not really calming down and takes a lot of time to calm it down. And how I can usually see in people is that their HRV is quite on the low side, and especially in the early parts of the night. But to your question, how you can actually get more deep sleep, well, the first part is of course having a like good schedule, like very regular schedule on going into sleep at the same time and waking up at the same time. And also finding out your natural chronotype. So, for example, in my case, I'm more of a night owl, and I've never really gone to sleep at 9 or 10 p.m. So it's always about 2 hours later than that. And adjusting your life around that. So, for example, for me, I've never been really enthusiastic about going into work at 8 a.m., which I think people should be asleep if they're not getting enough sleep. So, but the deep sleep happens in the first parts of the nights. So the easiest things you can do for example, supplement-wise, is high quality magnesium. So that's been really helpful for most of the people, and really like taking enough of the magnesium, even to like up to 10 milligrams per like a kilogram of body weight. So in my case, I would sometimes take about 800 to 1,000 milligrams of quality magnesium before sleep. So that's been really helpful for most of the people. And that's what I've been noticing in my medical practice, just by increasing the amount of magnesium. Also, many people, we are not like in bathing in the fields of different technologies, and that comes with also some dangers. And one of the dangers is constant blue light or white light. So you want to block all the blue light at least like 3 hours before going into sleep to help your melatonin kick in and just support the melatonin synthesis. So I'm sure you're already doing that for optimizing your deep sleep, but these are like the basic steps you should do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've definitely tried a couple of those. What I find works best is magnesium, like you said, and restricting caffeine, and even even like I love a cup of coffee in the morning or like 2 or 3 and even
5.
or 5, right? But the thing is like even if I cut it off at 11, it's my sleep is still better if I don't have any. So I think I'm just really sensitive to coffee. Like I guess some people can be really sensitive.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to just do decaf, which has a little bit of caffeine in it, but just trying to watch that. And then I have another question now. I don't know if you're going to know the answer to this. So in the menstrual cycle, you have like the 4 different phases, right? And after you ovulate, your temperature goes higher and your hormones change and all of these things. So I noticed that my deep sleep is actually better in the second half of my cycle after I ovulate before I menstruate. Now, is that like a thing or no?
Well, it's a thing for you.
Right.
If you have noticed that, and usually that's good part. Your chance of getting pregnant is better after ovulation, like naturally.
Yeah.
So it's a part of that your progesterone hormone levels go up, and getting ready for the possible insemination or getting the baby. So that's usually the case, that you have more progesterone in your system and you're getting better sleep. That's what I've been noticing in my wife and like in most of the women who have like regular periods and their cycles are pretty like stable. So I think that has to do with the thing in the hormone wise.
Okay. Because I figured it was related to that and I figured there was a correlation there, but I just like wasn't sure. So I know that you talk a lot about, I saw your like testosterone. I saw your comprehensive analysis on testosterone, which was incredible. So going into that more compared to like female hormones, now shifting a bit to male hormones, how does sleep play a role in increasing or decreasing testosterone in men?
Yeah, that's very straightforward. So the more you get and the better quality sleep you get, the higher your testosterone secretion usually will be. Of course, there's a certain like limit that it doesn't matter if you sleep like 8 hours or 10 hours or more. It doesn't actually increase that. But if you're sleep deprived and you sleep categorically like too little deep sleep and your sleep quality is not that good, so you're definitely not gonna get that good of a like a testosterone boost in the morning especially. So the testosterone secretion is the highest in the morning, and when you have slept a good night of 8 hours of good quality sleep, it's guaranteed that your T levels will be higher than they would like after a sleep of, let's say, 5 to 6 hours and not getting enough deep sleep and so on. So that's kind of a no-brainer to anybody who's thinking a bit logically. So that's the case. Yeah.
And is that the same no matter what age you are? Like if you're a 30-year-old male compared to a 65-year-old male, like should you still be aiming for the more sleep, the better type of idea?
Of course, naturally the T production is going down with age. And also with age goes down the deep sleep, the amount of deep sleep you can naturally get. So in that sense, it's not the same as people get older. But of course, you should aim for high quality sleep, no matter what your age is, whether it's declining naturally or not. So it's just like a natural progression of the human body.
And is it the same with females? Like the more you sleep, the more testosterone they create as well?
No, not exactly. Females have like a pretty stable production. They have testosterone, but it's like men have like 20 times higher T levels. Of course, there's a variation between female individuals, but I would say that it has an effect because females also need T production to operate like stably. So if you don't have any testosterone production, you wouldn't have like almost any muscle and strength. And it's kind of a hard question, and I haven't really looked deep into that specific category, so I can like definitely answer to you if it's an effect or not. But of course, if you think about recovery, you need some T and you need some growth hormone and so on. So they all have an effect on your recovery, and sleep is the best time for recovery. So my answer is I don't know.
That's okay. If you don't know, I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah.
Someone will know and they'll write in. That's interesting because the world right now of wellness, especially online, seems to be very focused on balancing hormones at like, especially in the female world. So what do you recommend for females who have too much testosterone production and they're having weird symptoms of like hair growth in places that maybe they shouldn't have hair growth and like that type of thing? Like, how do you decrease the testosterone as a female?
Yeah, good question. I don't have a specific answer to that either. Usually the case is that they don't necessarily have like that high T production, but they have other genes being produced, especially in the like higher hair growth and like follicle growth and so on, and more masculine features. So that has to do a lot with the PCOS, so it's polycystic ovary syndrome, and that has to do with the insulin resistance, which is usually the underlying cause. So I would go and tackle that, the insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance, by fixing your diet. And usually a good solution is kind of an anti-inflammatory diet with the carbohydrates on the lower side. So that's usually a very good fix for many in this side. Of course, you might need some medication at times and so on. But again, this is not really my specialty in the field of biohacking and medicine.
It's pretty interesting that you are a medical doctor, but you write these biohacking articles and books. So how do you kind of like mesh the world of pharmaceuticals and natural healing compounds and biohacking all together?
Well, that's the thing we are trying to put together, that it's not either or, but it's always both. The medicine and medical field have very good drugs and like interventions, but also has a natural side, and it's never either or. It's always both. So taking into account both of the best of the both worlds. But at this moment, we are trying to create, and not just trying, but creating this preventive healthcare system by increasing the awareness of biohacking and that people have actually very, very high possibilities of taking care of their own health and just thriving in their own bodies and not getting sick. So it's more of a preventive healthcare stand, which has so we don't have to really deal with any like medications and pharmaceuticals, and that's why my natural drive has been going forward for the past 10 years. Of course, in my practice, I used medications and in tune with like natural remedies and natural solutions, but it's kind of a problem here, especially in Finland. So it's not like that widely accepted, and there's a lot of debate and a lot of polarization and so on. It's a field that's kind of building at the moment, and this biohacking movement is doing very good to the whole field, so that the preventive medical medicine and medical field is actually evolving a lot more rapidly with the biohacking movement.
Yeah, I totally see that. And I agree with you. I think the future is one of preventative health and focusing on what we can do now so that we're healthier when we're 50, 60 or older. So is that what you think like the future is going to look like in 40 years? Is it going to be more of like this preventative way of like nutrition and fitness and all these other things compared to right now, which especially in Canada and the States, it's like, take this drug to suppress this one symptom that you're having and then never get to the root cause of it, and then take more drugs and more, and now you're addicted. Oh, well, like it's like such a business, right? So there's so much money there too, and like politics, that I just don't know if it'll ever fully turn one day.
I would say 40 years is a long time span. So I would say that even in 10 years, we see a lot of change, and at least in 20 years. But you're totally right on that point, that the medicalization has gone like so far ahead, but it's been also brought into the surface with different kind of media and social media especially, and people are actually aware that, for example, old people, they have like on average 9 different medications, at least here in Finland, especially those one who are in the foster care homes. And I don't know if that's the right word, but not living in their own houses anymore, but they have on average 9 different medications, and usually there's a medication for this symptom and then this symptom and then this medication for blocking out the disadvantages, and it's totally a mess. And I just read an article that old people actually get more functional when the medications were quit one by one. So they have been totally over-medicated. So I think that's a huge problem, to realize how over-medicated many are, and the natural side of healing the body has been totally diminished. Even old people have a natural tendency to heal themselves if they have the possibilities and the circumstances that they're able to do that. But many medications actually stop that altogether. So it's a change. I see that the rise of biohacking, and at the same time, the awareness of over-medicalization, they are taking place together at the same time, and they're like a kind of a different shades or parts of the same coin. So it's very interesting to see and to see how this evolves. But I hope for the best, that it is going into a better direction.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it is. And especially because biohacking has taken off, right? It was not really, it was around 5 years ago, but not really as much as it is right now. So diving into your nutrition, I'm very curious. I know your book is very agnostic when it comes to what type of diet to eat, but is there a certain diet or way of eating that you follow?
To the first part, we deliberately didn't want to get or elevate any diet, because it's so highly individual. But for example, in the work section, we go through blood sugar management, and of course we go through different metabolic processes, for example, ketosis and intermittent fasting and so on. So to your question, I follow kind of a flexible ketogenic diet, which is, I would say, it's my diet, because I found the foods that really suit well for my body and my gastrointestinal system. And it goes from season to season, and I don't eat the same I did eat in the winter time as I eat in the summertime. But it's kind of a diet that's supporting my own system, and it's very nutrient dense and lacking a lot of anti-nutrients, and it's good for my gut microbiota. And I like the feeling of not eating the whole day and just being in the state of fasting and being deeper into ketosis. So it's really helping my brain to work better, and also I'm getting a lot of more things done in a shorter period of time. Our approach is not any diet, but that's my own personal approach at the moment.
Yeah, I like that. Even I find it hard right now to define how I'm eating to people. I'm keto, but I'm paleo, but I'm not paleo because it's also too much meat for me. And there's no right way to say it. But I'm cyclical keto, very similar to you. I find keto itself is too difficult for me, and it actually messed up my hormones.
Can do that.
About a year ago. And it does that for a lot of females, is it's too restrictive, and then their hormones, sometimes they don't get their periods and these things happen. So it can be really hard on the body.
Yeah. Usually the case is that it's not necessarily the keto itself and the ketosis process, but usually females who have problems with that is that they're lacking calories, so that they're simply not eating enough energy. So that's categorically the thing I've seen from person to person. But of course there are individual variances, and you could actually in tune your diet with your periods and the cycle. So I wouldn't go keto in the PMS and the menstruation part of the cycle. I would then eat higher carbohydrates, and just usually people and especially females go into that they have these urges. Okay, I need this, and now I need that, and now I need that, and just following my wife, I've been seeing that there's now there's more bacon in the here. okay, you're eating a toast now. Okay, that's interesting. All right, you have some natural potato chips. Okay, interesting. So as you can see, what's the common denominator in those foods is high calorie content per bite.
Yeah.
So that's usually they're naturally craving more calories, and that's actually evolutionary very, very clear, because you're getting ready for possibly having a baby and having it inside your system. And until the menstruation starts, and then you're more craving more like greens and like some kind of herbs that are actually cleaning your body. So for females, everything is more complicated in this sense, also with the diet. So I wouldn't recommend that you use same foods all day, like every day, but just go with the cycles, and whether it's your own cycle or whether it's the cycle of the year or the place you're living in. It's just being in tune with the nature also. That's very critical.
Yeah, that's so important. I actually just created a 1-pager that is all about cycle syncing and like fitness, nutrition, food, and supplements, and all of these different things that you should be doing per cycle phase. And it actually makes a big difference. And it's what you said, like when you're going through these different phases, you might need more grounding food and more high calorie food. And then, you know, during ovulation, you have a ton of energy. So you can actually go to a spin class and push yourself harder in the gym. But then when your period comes and you're menstruating, you know, it's time for yoga. Like it's just so different to how I think the world sees it right now, of like, have this one diet and exercise this one way all the time throughout the year. It just doesn't make sense. So.
It doesn't. And I'm really like glad to hear that you have you're doing this stuff, and I would love to see it and like check it out. And this is something like females and people in general, but especially like females, totally need, because becoming aware of all the natural cycles, and that we're not robots and we're not cyborgs, at least not at this moment, but it doesn't go like that. Okay, every day, same thing all the time. Of course, it sounds very easy, and it might be like if you're just focusing on doing work and you don't want to take care of any or think about nutrition. People have like many patients have asked, okay, can you do me like a eating schedule so I can eat the same things every day? I said, no, I cannot do that. So you have to do it yourself if you want, but I only can give you like recommendations, what would be good for you, but you have to create your own diet and own way of eating and just finding out what's good for you. So that's what biohacking is all about. It's becoming aware of yourself and how actually is my body functioning and my mind and my body and mind in relation to my surroundings.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to what we were saying, how it's holistic, right? You can't just have this one diet, like you said, or this meal plan that you make for your patients, right? It's just more complicated than that. And you have to look at it as a lifestyle. So that was like a big shift for me. And like most people I find is the moment you move away from the word diet and this like restrictive thing to like, oh, I'm just going to live a healthy lifestyle and I'm going to make healthy choices every day, it's easier for people to kind of navigate and get through.
Yeah, totally. And that's why in the Biohacker's Handbook, in the nutrition section, there are just like, if you think about how it's been formulated, there are things, okay, now these are the things that you could or should possibly avoid because of this and that, because they have like anti-nutrients and they might not be good for your system. And here are the tools and things you can do to actually prepare your food so that it has more nutrients but less anti-nutrients. Here's how you can actually store your food so that it's more vibrating and it's actually generating like fermenting different vegetables and so on. And here are the food groups. And here are the best ones from that particular food group, and here are the worst ones. So this helps people to actually create themselves their own diet. So answer to anybody who questions my diet, I answer that it's okay. It's always diet. It's my diet, but it's based on, for example, ketogenic processes and so on. So this is really a new way of teaching people to become like the N equals one, the experimentators of their own lives. So it's really interesting. Of course, not everybody will do that, and that's a fact. But anybody who's interested in their own health should at least give it a try.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think one of the things we will see in the future is more unique and personalized nutrition and health plans and just like prescriptions and everything rather than like a one size fits all.
Yeah, totally. And to that point, we are becoming more and more like informed what actually our gut microbiota is and how it's reacting to different kind of foods. And based on that, we can get some like personalized recommendations, whether it's supplements or different kind of food groups and food types, what actually support our system, or if we want to like transform our like bacterial balance into this certain way. Okay, here are the foods that you should eat now. And if you have a disease that's been related to like a certain kind of microbial like a profile, so here are the things that you can do to reverse that. So in that sense, it's definitely going to more personalized and more sophisticated approach on treating the specific individual, not just treating like a whole country or or a bunch of people that many of the like epidemiological studies are going through. That okay, these 500,000 people, they ate like 4 eggs per week, and this has been shown to like elevate blah blah blah. And so this is very interesting information, but it has nothing to do with the individual.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It's just funny, just the way that you said that. But yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited to see kind of like where it's going. And I think that your biohacking handbook is a massive step in the right way. I have it in front of me right now. I read it before I go to bed. And you must have taken so much time to put into this book because it's so detailed. Like, yeah, it's insane. Like I thought I knew a lot because I'm studying to be a nutritionist, and I've like been in the health world for like 10 years and naturopathy and blah, blah, blah. But like the way that you break it down is amazing. So everybody, I'm going to link to it in this show for sure, because it is definitely a game changer of a book.
It took about like 3.5 years to put this together. And the book, I thought we could do it like in 2 years or so, but we just realized that the more time and like dedication, more structure we put in, the better it's gonna get. So if you rush through to get your book done, it's not gonna do it. And the processes that go with the writing, it's usually that I create most of the like raw content in the book, and I go through like thousands of researches per every year. And after that, we go this with Teemu, who's been like editing the book, and he's writing a few of the chapters also. And Jaakko has been especially promoting on the nutrition side as a wild herbalist. So it's been like a very interesting process. And most of the writing has been actually happening in my summer cottage in Sysmä, which is about 2 hours from Helsinki, in the middle of nowhere. We have a lake and there's a lot of birds and just like in the middle of the forest. So we have had like about 20 of these retreats in that place, and just been like diving into the research and writing and just living in the summer cottage or this cottage for 3 days in a row and just creating a bunch of stuff. And it has become like the writing is not constant, so it's kind of these bursts, and eventually it's been formulated into this whole. And we have a atelier critics, so it's Sam Inkinen, who's like a specialist in the language side. So we wanted that this book doesn't have any like empty sentences and like empty words, but it's meaningful from every word. And of course, the science side, we wanted it to be like 100% reference. So if there's a claim, there's also a reference.
Yeah, that's what I noticed as well. Is like there's the back of the textbook, or the book. Is like all references. But you know what? It just brings validity to what you guys are saying, and I think that's amazing. Yeah. And I heard that you have a second coming out, like a sequel.
Yeah, we have published the Biohacker Stress book in Finnish. It was last September. Yeah, we are planning on publishing that too, but not this year, probably next year. And we just discussed Teemu about this, that we are about to not just go with the stress, but also with different kind of other things that have not been in this handbook. So I don't know how it's going to be formulated as a whole eventually, but there is more coming in this field. So watch
Good.
out for that. And of course, this book it has been like sold into over 60 different countries, which is pretty amazing. But the amounts have not been that great yet. The next plan is to get it into the US Amazon, or how you pronounce it, Amazon web store, yeah, and have like a local printer in there. And we are going to do also the Kindle version, and just like to get more people to have their hands on this book. We have a book launch party with the Biohacker Summit here in Helsinki in the beginning of November. So it's going to be a huge event, 2-day conference event with the pre-event upgrade dinner and also the offsite, 2-day offsite. So the official launch of the book is happening in the event.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. It's like such an accomplishment. It's amazing.
Thanks.
The next time you have your retreat in the woods, I want to be invited, just so you know.
Yeah, well, the next time is actually after the conference, after the Biohacker Summit. So it's in the beginning of November. So we always have this 2-day retreat somewhere in the forest.
That's awesome. I love that. That's so like therapeutic. But yeah, thank you for being on the podcast. It was awesome to get to chat with you and just like pick your brain about all sorts of things, especially hormones. Like you're such a wealth of knowledge. So I think everyone's going to get a lot out of this.
Thank you, Brittany. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Great. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. Let me know what you think. Everything that I talked about and Ollie talked about show notes wise is down below for you to download and take a look at. Like I linked the Biohacker's Handbook, of course, the sleep chapter that's free, the Aura Ring, which I have and Ollie has as well, the deep sleep article that he wrote for Ben Greenfield, and my free Cycl syncing PDF. Now, if you have questions about any of this, shoot me a message. I have experience with all of them. I've read all of them, so I can definitely help you out. Just a note on the Cycl syncing PDF. I created that like last November or so for myself, and I kept it for so long for myself and didn't tell anybody about it. There was no motive behind creating it for monetary reasons or anything like that. It was just for myself. And then people were asking me, and then I realized, okay, I'm just going to make it public. That is available to download off of my website. And if you have questions about it, ask me, because I've actually had a lot of success with it in different ways. And I'm thinking I'm going to do a whole episode on cycle syncing because of so many people asking me different questions and not understanding what it is and why you do this and why you don't do that during different stages of the month and of your menstrual cycle. Keep an eye out for that. And obviously, of course, like shoot me a message or an email if you have any questions. Next week, I have on Kiki Bosch, who I met through a mutual friend, and she is amazing. And her story is so inspiring. She is one of very few people who is Wim Hof method trained. I don't think that's saying it correctly, but she's legally and trained properly in order to help people with the Wim Hof method way of breathing. She is also very well known for her cold therapy work that she does with people. And it's a really good episode because we just talk about like really sensitive things and why she turned to cold therapy and what it's done for her, and hydrotherapy. And it's interesting because it's different from what most people do. So she kind of came out of this traumatic experience, and cold therapy was kind of her way out. So we get into that. So it's a really good one. It's quite an amazing story. So stay tuned next week for that. I will be releasing it on Thursday, which is my Friday. So Friday for everybody in New Zealand, Australia, Asia, and Thursday for everybody in America, in Canada. And I will be in Singapore next week releasing that. And then I'll be back in Vancouver. So, which is really exciting. And speaking of, I am going to be organizing, I haven't thought too much about it yet, but I'm going to be organizing a Vancouver Biohackers Club, and it's definitely not going to be called that, but we're going to do meetups and fun things. And I mean, even with Kiki Bosch, when I was talking to her during this podcast, she talked about coming to Canada and us doing some sort of like polar bear dips and like cold water therapy together and like getting a group and having an event. I'm going to be starting that up probably this fall. And I already have some people interested. If you're in the Vancouver area, if you're in BC and you want to connect and be involved in that, I would love to talk to you and for you to come out. It'll probably be a mix of like actual biohacking retreats and things that we do and events with like drinks and food at a bar, just because most people kind of come out to those types of things before they'll come out to more intense things. So that's kind of the blend I'm looking at, maybe monthly. We'll see. Keep an eye out for that and let me know what you think of this episode. And I look forward to you listening and us talking next week.